Hey y'all, so this is going to be a quick rundown talk through video explaining certain things that we needed to cover during class. So this one is going to be about sewing down our frontal. We know as in the frontal, as I stated, you want it to be shaped like a M in the front. So you're going to take your T-pin and we're going to place that in the middle of the frontal. And remember, we want to bring down that lace at least half an inch in front of that wig cap. Because if we place it on the wig cap, then that wig will sit directly on top of your hairline and it will eventually cause it to shift backwards. So place the lace at least half an inch in front of the wig cap. Now when we doing our frontal, we like to bring it straight down. So we're gonna take our T-pins and bring it down on one side, and on the other ear we're gonna bring it down as well. Once it's nice and flat, then it's time to sew down the frontal. Now remember, I don't really sew it down, like stitching it very tightly and very close together, because I know I'm gonna go back over it with the sewing machine. So this right here is all on you. If you want to sew it tightly and close together, then you can do so. But if you know you're gonna go over it with the sewing machine, then you don't have to put your stitches as close together. So we just want to go from one side to the other side. Next topic is our guidelines. Now remember, it just depends on how much hair you are dealing with. If you're dealing with a lot of hair, maybe about 4 to 5 bundles, you can do it every half inch. But since I'm doing 3 bundles, I'm gonna use every inch. So you can take your chalk marker. You can take a piece of chalk from the 99-cent store. Get a piece of chalk. It will wash away just as well. So as I get closer to the top, then I like to curve my lines more in. And I'm going to show you what I'm talking about. So you want to bring them lines straight across. And as we get to the top, as you can see, I'm starting to curve it. But once we get on the very top, I like to go straight across. I like to do at least 2 to 3 tracks to go straight across. Before, I used to just freestyle my guidelines and just go ahead and just do it as I'm on the sewing machine. But you want to work smarter, not harder. So use the guidelines. It just makes life way more simpler. Next topic is us winding our bobbin. So remember, for the bobbin, you want to go from the inside to the top. From the inside to the top. And once we got it from the inside to the top, we're going to place it down on our machine on the bobbin side. Remember, hold on to that little piece of thread. We just need a little piece of thread to hold on to. And we switch it to the right. And now it's time to press down on that presser foot, and you will see it will start winding. And you always want to make sure that it's winding neatly. If it's winding messed up and loose, then as you are sewing your wig, it will eventually mess up and just start to jam on you. So make sure it's winding nice and perfect. And remember, you can always YouTube your machine how to wind it. So now the fun part, we're gonna sew our tracks onto our wig cap. Now I'm using a zigzag stitch, so we can use zigzag stitch and straight stitch for this part. So I'm using a zigzag stitch, and what I'm gonna do is whenever you are starting your wefts, you want to reverse stitch at least 2 to 3 times, and this is gonna secure that weft and make sure it ain't going nowhere. So I'm just showing you a glimpse of how I started and how I do it, but I'm gonna get a little bit closer for you guys so you can visually understand. I really pray that this helps you. So I have it secured underneath the needle. Now what I'm doing is I'm tugging on that track, but I'm also gonna be stretching out the wig cap with my left hand. I just want it to run smoothly. And remember, you do not want your goal right now to be, let me finish this in 30 minutes and under. Do not let that be the goal. Let's just concentrate on having a foundation set first. So once you get that hand placement and you find what works best for you, everything will run so smooth, I promise you. So just focus on when you start in the track, you always want to reverse stitch, back stitch, I should say, and then we are going to front stitch and continue that stitch all the way through. And once it's towards the end, then remember we are going to back stitch. Moving right along, we are going to do plucking. Now plucking is very hard for me to explain. It's more visual, so I like to do a part in the front, and this is going to help for that hairline and those baby hairs. So behind that line, I am going to pluck maybe every centimeter apart. And I like to work with one side first before going through the entire frontal or closure. So as you pluck, you want to, this is the key, you want to make sure you comb it or you brush it out. This way you can see how much you pluck, and this will save you from creating any balding areas, because it's very easy to make that frontal look bald. Okay, so I go back and I part, and now we're gonna do the same exact thing. Every centimeter I'm going to pluck. And I do that about 2 to 3 times when I'm plucking. And now once I'm done plucking, now it's time to comb it back, and we can see what we are working with. Now plucking is all on your preference or your client's preference, because some really like it to look very scalpy, and I don't like that look, only because eventually over time of wearing your lace, it will eventually shed regardless. It's not a scalp, it's not going to grow back, so I don't like the pluck too much. Now if you're asking yourself, why are we plucking, why do we need to pluck? Plucking is what's going to give it that natural hairline, and you just want to be very careful during this process, because it's very easy to create holes or balding spots. So just make sure you're holding your tweezers a little bit correctly, you're not digging into the lace, but we want to pluck because some of these lace come very full and you don't want that. So that's why we are going to create that illusion of making it look as if it's growing out of our scalp. I'll try to put an image up on a screen somewhere just to show you exactly what I mean on some hairlines come very full.